Alfred, are you on? And the significance of that for everyone else is if Alfred is on, then that represents a quorum. Otherwise, we don't have a quorum.
Any point in calling him?
Well, if he's on, he would be hearing this if he was physically present. Joe, I believe you probably do have Alfred's phone number, which may or may not be the same one. Perhaps you could give him a call. Maybe he does have an alternate line. I just can't tell if this is Alfred. Joe, you're on mute right now.
Okay. How about now?
You're good now.
Yeah, I don't have Alfred's cell number.
Let me see if I have it. No, I only have Steven's number.
That's not, the number is not Alfred's, it's Jonah.
What about Kevin?
I'm calling him now. Kurt Felix is going to dial in. Okay, in anticipation of Kurt joining us shortly, we'll go ahead and we'll do a roll call. So far, myself, Allgaier, Aberdale, Annette, presumably Kurt. Will Sullivan is on. I also saw John Wolf and Kathleen Bacon. And from Burnham, we have, I believe, Steve D. We have Matt, presumably Matt Sullivan, Craig Burnham. I see somebody named R.C. Fleetian. I'm not sure who that is. Can you identify yourself? This is Kurt. Hang on. Joe, can you let him in? He says he's queued.
I'm going to let him in right now.
Okay.
And we have one other to identify, the 508 number.
508, is that Jonah with AGM?
Yes, it is.
Okay, good evening, Jonah. And circling back to R.C. Fleetian, if you could identify yourself, please.
That person is muted. And I've requested to be unmuted. It has not happened yet.
Okay.
Kurt, you're on.
I'm on. Sorry for being late, guys. I apologize, and gals.
Okay, I think we have a quorum.
We do. Did you unmute R.C. Fleetian?
They won't unmute.
Okay. Okay, so we do have a quorum. We'll go ahead and we'll get starting with announcements, open session, and public comments. And I think, Will, you probably have an announcement that is suitable for as a public comment and a public announcement, meaning the very recent dredging grant that was awarded to the town.
Yeah, I would really like to thank the state and Housing and Economic Development. You know, a lot of work went into getting us that grant, $2.5 million. It was another max award. It was by far way more than every other community in the state. You know, most communities were not even in the six-figure range. We had a lot of help on this, getting this from, you know, even down to Sour Peak was there. We had a lot of help, and just want to send out a big thank you to everyone on getting us and helping us out with that grant. It was fantastic. So.
Okay, good deal. Any other public announcements or open session?
Well, I got my hand up.
John Wall, go ahead.
Yeah,
It's a question. Who actually wrote the grant?
We all worked on that.
it was.
We
a
all passed it
blanket.
around and shared tidbits of information. Some of the information came from last year's grant and was updated. A lot of us took a big role in doing little parts in that.
Any other, John, did that satisfy your question?
Oh, yes.
Okay, any other announcements? Okay, we'll move on to the administrative section. Having completed the roll call, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes of meeting from June the 13th of 22. These are, if you need a minute to refresh your memories, go ahead and take it, and then we can entertain a motion to accept. Everybody ready? Skip? Skip's on mute.
Okay,
Skip, unfortunately, you were on mute, so in a minute, we're going to ask you to repeat.
Okay, you got me now?
Gotcha now.
Okay, then. So I make a motion that the Wellfleet Dredging Task Force Committee minutes of the meeting of June 13th, 2022, 7 p.m. be accepted as written.
Looking for a second.
Do you want these chips? I don't want them. We don't want
No,
them.
no, thanks.
You want
I'll second that.
Okay.
I just have one comment.
Yes.
Somebody said John stated that TLD is not allowed in Massachusetts. That, just for the record, that's not true.
Where's your, that was me, and so where did you get that particular information that it's not true?
I've had a lot of discussions with both state officials and people in Massachusetts who have done thin layer deposition at other locations. So I've got a lot of data I can share, but that isn't true.
I
It's-
got that directly
but it-
from somebody that has had direct information in doing that
Yeah.
particular resource also.
Yeah, I shared documents with Chris as well from those other projects where thin layer deposition was used. So it's not a, it is not something that is prohibited in Massachusetts.
It was stated in the meeting, so
Right.
with respect to the minutes of the meeting, it's an accurate portrayal of what was said.
Correct. I just wanted to point that out. I wasn't at the meeting, or I would have said
No, that's
something.
right.
So since I wasn't at the meeting, that's the only way I can, raise the point.
Yep. Okay, move on to the vote. Starting with Kurt.
I have to abstain. I wasn't there.
Okay, we Skip,
Say again.
the vote.
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Chris, aye. So we're 3-0 and an abstention. I don't know if we have to do it again. We'll move on. Next category is an update on permit and lobbyist activity. And Will, if you could update us on ongoing activities on this, please.
Sure. I called into Ray this morning, our lobbyist. I haven't heard back from him yet. And Keating's office is waiting for an update as well, which we've told them that tomorrow night we will be going to the select board to bring up the plan that our delegation has worked on with our lobbyists to present to the Army Corps as the only acceptable option for them to mitigate the 14 some odd million dollars for dredging to get us that permit. And tomorrow night will be where the select board is updated on that and has the availability to work on the possibility of the mitigation and coming up with a monitoring plan for those properties that we've been talking about for several months now, if they deem fit. And that's about as far as it's gone.
Any questions or comments on that for Will or for anyone else? Okay, move on to the next category, specifically the 2022 dredging plans.
Hey,
And
John, did you, I couldn't tell. I think John may have had his hand up.
John, do you have your hand up?
You're referring to me?
Yeah, you have your
Yes.
hand up?
I was thinking about putting my hand up, but I didn't know if this was the place to do it or if I should wait till tomorrow night. We've been completely in the dark as to the nature of any of these negotiations. So tomorrow night is going to be the first time we find out about them.
well, and we'll certainly have a lengthy discussion tomorrow, but it's been ongoing with a representative from the select board at previous meetings, and the minutes of meeting are really quite detailed, which gets sent to the select board. But be that as it may, we will have a detailed discussion tomorrow, I'm sure.
Okay, but I'd like to point out I've been on the select board for a year and I've seen nothing.
Have you not read the minutes of the meeting that go to you?
We haven't received any such minutes.
No, they're posted, and every time they're approved, they're posted on the website. And also there's distribution to the Board of Select Person, but at this point, that's moot. We'll have a detailed discussion tomorrow, I'm sure.
Are you talking, Chris, are you talking about the dredging task force minutes?
Yes.
Those minutes are not expanded in great detail to specifics. They're general.
Well, the comment was that he hasn't seen anything, so.
Well, I'm referring to the specifics. You know, we've seen general comments that negotiations are ongoing, but that's all we've seen.
And the specifics, I think you'll find the minutes are pretty clear on which properties were being proposed for mitigation.
Well, I don't want to take up your time with this tonight because I don't think
Okay.
it's appropriate for me to do that. But
Okay.
we'll get into it tomorrow.
Okay. Next category is the dredging plans. The bids were received, I believe it was the 29th of the month, and they're currently being evaluated.
I have not gotten anything back from town council as of yet. They are still evaluating the bids.
I sent out the bids and the bidders to all members on the task force.
It's also posted on the town website.
Okay, next category is future plans to reduce the sedimentation and future maintenance. And, one of the discussions we had recently was with John Reel and thin layer deposition and the potential for a demonstration project possibly coordinating such a demo project with the National Seashore. So there'll be more on that in the future as it evolves.
Chris, just a comment on that. I mean, the seashore is a reasonable alternative for looking at something like that. But I'm literally in the process of putting together some grant requests for the Mayo Creek restoration, which is obviously very, very proximate to the, where
Right.
we have significant impacts in terms of dredging.
Right.
And one of the things that was in the original Mayo Creek Task Force recommendations was to dredge the landward side of the Mayo Creek duckbill. So in other words, near the Pearl and upstream of where it actually exits into the harbor. And I think the notion that thin layer deposition could be done there is probably a good one. There's going to be a big turnover of the Phragmites there to salt marsh. John has talked about that in the past, but from a timeline standpoint, I think that's likely to happen sooner rather than the Herring River project, and also the complexity of piping from the harbor itself up to Herring River is significantly more involved. So the most proximate, I think, demonstration project could probably be Mayo Creek, both in terms of timing and proximity.
Yeah, well, by all means, pursue that. The worst that could happen is we end up with options. For a demo project, John, has been talking to the seashore for sites other than Herring River. Herring River would be much further later in time. So Kirk, by all means, go ahead and continue to Mayo Creek as an option.
Okay, and I'll talk to John about that. He and I have just been trading emails today on exactly that topic. So I'll let him know that you've talked to him about, or that the committee's talked to him about thin layer and Herring River, and see what might make sense in Mayo Creek.
Right, okay. Next item has to do with the sand shoaling in the area of the breakwater. And, we had done an RFP to request engineering and permits to do the dredging. This would be in the form of beach nourishment down the road. So that RFP is with Rebecca. It's ready to be issued, just need to update the actual issue date that it goes out, and therefore the due date. So it's a simple date change, and then it can be put out for bid. Okay, that covers the agenda. We can move on to, if there's not anything else, we'll move on to when we should schedule the next meeting. If we stay with Mondays, September 12th or the 19th, or Mondays in September.
Well,
Chris, relative to
the August 29th. No, we generally go 4 weeks.
I was just going to ask, is there anything that we need to address relative to the bids potentially that would impact timing and or the permits? In other words,
with respect to the permit, to John's point, there'll be detailed discussion. So to make that determination would best be after tomorrow night's select board meeting, but there could be.
Can I just suggest then that you as the chair and or Joe as the co-chair, just sort of after the meeting tomorrow, make a determination whether we need to meet sooner?
Sure, we can do that. Let me just take a quick look.
Kurt, I would favor booking it now for 4 weeks, August 29th.
Okay.
That would put us much closer to the target date, and we'd have updates.
Okay. All right, so we'll schedule it for the 29th. I lost my screen here, guys. Bear with me. Yeah, there we go. Sorry. All right, so August 29th at 7 PM. And we can entertain a motion to adjourn if there's no other business.
So moved.
And we need a second.
I'll second.
In favor, Kurt,
Aye.
Skip,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
and Chris, aye. 4-0. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Good night.
Beautiful.
Take care.